Hello everyone, this is International Master Robert Jamieson from Kids Unlimited in Melbourne, Australia. And today I have half a dozen interesting positions to show you. Now the question arises, what do you do when you have pretty much a totally lost position? We used to have a saying at my university days, a gentleman would resign. But before a gentleman resigns, what he should do is make certain he's seen all the ideas in the position and exhausted any chances, however slight, he may still have. The other day, I was watching two of my students play a tournament game, and they reached this position here with white to play. And white's clearly in a hopeless position. He's a rook and 2 pawns down, and he was about to resign. So I said, hang on. You might still have a little chance. So have a think about it. So what do you think for white? Does he have any possibilities of a swindle here? Pause the video and make up your mind what you play. Okay. He did in fact see my sneaky idea, and white could play rook f2. Now, of course, this is hoping for rook takes rook, and we've got queen takes rook back rank checkmate. But black, of course, saw that. He didn't fall for our trap, and he played h6. And white then resigned. So I rushed up to him and said, "You goose, he's just fallen for our second trap, and you've resigned, and you didn't notice. You see what he missed?" Yes, he could have played queen takes rook check. Got his rook back, and though he's 2 pawns down, he does have the active rook, and he still has some chances to play on. So that was a bit of a pity. I'm inspired also by reading this book I got the other day called Oops, I Resigned Again by Grandmaster Ian Rogers, where he shows a number of positions where players resign when they could have either drawn or won. So let's have a look at a few more examples along the similar line. All right, now here's a position back in the 1930s between Grandmaster Salo Floor, who was one of the top 3 or 4 players in the world at the time, playing Henry Grob from Switzerland, who was a master but nowhere near as good as Floor. And of course, Floor is doing pretty well here. He's a pawn up, and it's his go as white. And he played queen e4. Now, and he offered a draw. Question for you. You're black. Do you accept the draw, or do you play on? Pause the video, have a little think, decide what you do. Okay, hopefully you've decided. When I show this to my students, most of them say, oh, I want to play on because I found a good move for black. Look, I can play queen b5 with the sneaky threat of queen f1 mate. And it looks pretty hard to get out of. In fact, it looks so hard to get out of that Grandmaster Floor resigned. What a tragedy, losing to a mere master. But then, of course, after the game, people rushed up to him and said, "You goose, why did you resign? There's a way out." He said, What? Hope you've seen it. He could have played just king in the corner. And now queen check, bishop back. There's no checkmate, everything's protected. He's all fine. But he didn't think of it. He missed the idea. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, here is a position. White is a piece down, but he has aggressively placed pieces. It's white to move. Question for you. Would you rather be white or black? So pause the video, make up your mind. Okay. Hopefully you've decided. So I show this to my students. Would you rather be white or black? And normally, of course, you'd say black because we're a piece up. But white does have a very strong move. Look, rook d7. Now, what are you going to do? If you take it twice, queen takes rook on f8 is going to be mate. If you move your queen, queen takes h7 is going to be mate. So you're in a bit of a pickle. So did you choose white or did you choose black? I'm hoping you chose black, because in this position, black resigned, but like Grandmaster Floor, if he found the correct move, he didn't have to. What is the correct move for black to get out of the threats? Yes, he can just play queen f7. Now, for instance, if rook takes queen, we just take one rook and then we take the other rook. We've got two rooks a knight for a queen. Win for us. But alas, he did not think of it. Right, let's move on to the next one. Now, this is one of my favorite ones because I'm involved in this position. So some years ago, it was the national school finals at Melbourne University, and I was up in the coach's room. So the deal is the kids play their game and then they come up to the coach's room and go through their game afterwards with the coach. And there was this tall boy from Western Australia who came up and wanted me to go through his game. He was playing white and he got to this position, but it's black to play. So question for you guys, would you rather be white or black? Black to play. Pause the video. Right, have you decided? Right, so the boy from Western Australia said, well, in this position, my opponent played knight f7, which I've missed. So he's attacking my queen. And when I move the queen, he's going to play knight takes bishop, and then he's going to play rook takes knight. And I couldn't see a way out, so I resigned. What did I say to him? I looked him in the eye, I said, you do realize you've resigned in a position where you have mate in 2, don't you? I think, he was totally shocked and flabbergasted. But yes, he could have played knight f5 check, knight takes queen, knight h6 mate. But he didn't think of it. That's why you have coaches. Right, let's have a look at the next one. All right, now this one. All right, black has just played queen g3 with the not very subtle threat of queen takes h3 mate. All right, would you rather be white or black? Pause the video. Decide on your move. All right, you decided? Looks pretty desperate. We can play rook takes bishop, but we lose a rook. And then there's going to be queen and 2 pawns versus rook and knight. We can play rook check, but we're still losing a rook to avoid mate. It looks hopeless, but it's not. White in fact resigned. Silly white. He could have played rook check, king up. Now can you see white's next move? He's got to stop queen takes h3 mate, and his rook's attacked. So he can play rook e3 because the bishop's pinned. Now black, of course, could just move his queen, and it's still looking pretty threatening. But white has a clever sequence of moves here. Pause the video if you haven't seen it already. What can white play here? Okay, here we go. Rook takes bishop, queen takes rook, rook d3, queen takes, and knight fork. And white has a knight for 2 pawns and will probably win. So he should not have resigned. All right, let's look at the next one. This is the last one, I think. And it's pretty hard. All right. It is white to play. Black has a very powerful threat of rook c1 check, followed by pawn equals queen check. So, what are you going to do? Pause the video, see if you can find anything for white. All right, have you decided? I don't think any of my students got this one because it's rather difficult. But there is a wonderful move here. an interference move. Let's hope you got it. So in the game, of course, white resigned, but he could have played rook d6. Look at that. Now, if pawn takes rook, I just play pawn f7, and I've got two passed pawns. One of them is going to become a queen, and you can't queen your pawn anymore because it's not protected by the rook. And if you play rook takes, I'm going to go check, king up, friendly check, king up, another friendly check, king across, and I'm going to pin your rook so you can't play rook c1 check. And if you unpin, well, I just take you. Because king takes, do I do pawn up or do I do bishop here perhaps? No, I do pawn. That should just about do it. And white is going to win. All right, well, they were pretty hard, but I hope you enjoyed those examples. So if you want to be a good chess player, it's pretty clear that you have to be good at seeing the ideas in the position. So make certain as a first phase, you look for them. Don't just resign because your position looks hopeless. Look for the ideas. If there are none, be a gentleman and resign. But maybe you might find an interesting swindle, as we saw in the examples today. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed those positions, and I'll see you all in the next video.